What's going on, everybody? Hopping on today, trying to clean up some things and get my storage together. So I've been uploading quite a few videos and shorts, pretty low on storage. One of my devices have been manipulated, so it's not working. They jacked it up for some reason. I'm not really sure why they did that, but it's all good. I wanted to hop on today and talk about, again, there's a lot of stuff that I have not discussed and I've not talked about pertaining to my attack and to the crime that's being committed against me, especially when it comes to the betrayals and people who were involved with putting me in this, and people who are still involved and monitoring and stalking and paying people to watch and monitor and stalk, and the identity theft, just the theft in general. A lot of that going on. A lot of that's happened. A lot of thieving, a lot of stealing, lying, and fraudulent acts. And I mean, I couldn't believe a lot of the things that I have discovered about what has been going on behind the scenes pertaining to me, and the things that these people are trying to do. The hatred of these people is immense. But so one of the things that I was talking about in my last video when I was talking about some of the betrayals was, when I was living with my little brother and ended up having to be moved around because they were moving me around to different locations because they were trying to essentially make me homeless. They were trying to force me into homelessness. So but they were having to try to do it, inconspicuously, try to make it look like something that I did. And, I was just intolerable. I wasn't able to, follow the rules of this person that I was living with. And mind you, these people I was living with asked me to come live with them. I didn't ask them. They asked me. Which brings me to my story that I'm going to tell. I'll get back to just kind of part 2. I think it was part 3 when I was talking about the ex-Jehovah's Witness elder that I was living with. I'll get back to that. But I want to kind of jump fast forward to this one because it ties in to that organization, the Jehovah's Witnesses. So I was living with my brother. While I was living with my brother, I had so many people just in my face and trying to, these people were working hard to try to get me out of that situation, because that was somebody that could be a witness for me. That was somebody that could be a partner for me, someone that I could trust, and they don't want that. They work very hard to make it so that you're isolated. So they were working on my brother really well. My brother, he smokes weed, which is the reason why I tell people, if you're smoking weed and you wonder why you're not being fucked with, that's why. Because you're being fucked with in other ways. You're not being targeted. Not for the things not like I'm being targeted. You're being targeted so that you can work for them. So they were working on his head and working on his mind, and they were doing a lot of mind control. They had implemented that aspect on him, and so they were using him quite a bit. He was definitely a Manchurian candidate. And so he and I were doing a lot of arguing, we were fighting a lot. He was, just very violent, which it's not really in his nature. Got a lot of nosy people rolling around, so I'm going to talk a little bit lower. So it's not in his nature to behave the way that he was acting. He's a young man. He's quite a bit younger than me, but he just does not have that type of nature. So I could tell that he was under the influence of certain things. And besides that, it would always be like certain people would get wind that I was talking to him, or that I was going to go and see him, and they would call him. And then after whatever conversation, they would have, his attitude would have changed. Now, if for those of you who don't know what the Manchurian Candidate, watch the movie with Denzel Washington. It's called Manchurian Candidate. And you'll understand what I mean and what I'm saying when I say his behavior changed after these phone calls. So anyway, I'm having a lot of problems with him. We're having a lot of issues. And then at the same time, I'm going to the Kingdom Hall and in this small little city where my brother was living. And, one day after, a lot of times, they'll go to lunch or they'll want to go out, to get some lunch or to get breakfast or whatever. And so we happened to be out, and one of the black churchgoers, I can't remember her name right now. I want to out these people, but I can't remember their names. Like, I'll get it and I'll put it in the comment box. But she just asked me out of the blue one day. She was like, "Hey, so do you wanna come live with me?" And I was just kind of taken aback because I was like, how do you, because I had been arguing and bickering with my brother, but it's like, how did you know that? And so I said, "Why you say that?" And she's, "Oh, well, I just know how your brother can be. I know how he can be, and I want you to be able to get your rest." So, I thought about it for a couple of days, and then I, just because we kept having issues and conflict or whatever, I went ahead and took her up on her offer. And I was staying with her, and I think I may have stayed there with her for a total of maybe 3 weeks. It may have been less, but it was about 3 weeks. So she was a member of this church for about 25 years. She was an older black woman. She had several sons. One was in his late 30s. He was married, and he had two little girls. And he lived down the street from her, like 2 houses down the street from her, with his wife. His wife was Mexican, and he lived with this woman and his kids, right? So prior to me living with her, I had visited her a couple times and noticed that she was spending time with her daughter-in-law, this woman that was married to her son. They were going on exercise walks together, and it was a regular routine. And I think she had talked to me about it too, a couple times. But now that I was living with her, she just kept coming to me out of the blue, telling me that, she didn't like the girl and the woman, and she was disrespectful, and, she didn't treat her son right. And, she was just, I think she said she was a witch, and she was teaching the girls things that she didn't think was right, and blah, blah, blah. And this was almost every day. And so I asked her, I said, "What happened to you guys walking and exercising together?" I said, "You used to do that all the time." Oh, wow. I don't think she realized that I had picked up on that and that I knew that. So she was like, "Oh, well, she just she wanted to stop for a minute for some reason or another, da, 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 da." So I'm like, okay. So, I'm staying there, and, for the first week, everything was pretty decent. Everything was pretty calm, pretty cool. She had told me that I could stay there for as long as I needed, and I didn't need to pay her anything. And when I first went there, I wasn't working. So I was in the middle of getting a job. had gone on my first interview, and I was, still doing the interview process. So I'm doing that, and she begins to question me about it because these people were like prolonging the process just because they're immature. These managers, they're a bunch of young kids, and they're not on top of things the way they need to be. So it was taking a little bit of time, and so she just kept asking me, like, "Are you gonna get a job? Are you gonna be working, or what's going on?" And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "They're just taking their time about the interviewing process, I guess." I said, "But yeah, and so." She just, her behavior just really started to change really quickly. And she was real tight with this elder I cannot remember his name either, but I'm definitely going to get these people's names. But she was real close with this man. And I thought it was really weird because she had a history. And I'm not going to get into that because, that's her business or whatever. But I thought that was weird that she had such a tight-knit relationship with this elder, because he was supposedly like the pillar of the community and, very, very, very well off. And it was just weird to me. I think his name was Chris, but his last name is the important thing. I can't remember right off the bat. But anyway, and when I was living with her, he kept coming over in their neighborhood. He was always over in the neighborhood, going door to door and shit. And it was like, why are you over here? Which is really unusual for an elder to be out in service, going door to door. And so these weird things started happening where, I could tell my bags had been gone through all the time. I had to go back and straighten up my bags frequently because somebody was going through them. And I didn't have anything. I just had, some CDs, DVDs, and clothes. And that was it. And so one day, she comes up to me and she asked me if she could ask me for a favor. And I said, well, what's the favor? And so she's like, well, my son, he needs to get his own place, I don't like him staying with her. They're not doing very well, blah, blah, blah. Would you be willing to get an apartment with him? Now, her son is almost 40 years old, which that's not even the issue, but he's married. He's got children. But most importantly, I'm single. And in this religion, you can't, as a single woman, you can't be living with any man. Even if he was single, you couldn't. But the fact that he was married, you can't live with a married man. It wasn't even a matter of him being indifferent with his wife. They're not separated and they're not divorced. This is a woman who's 25 years in to being a Jehovah's Witness, and she's telling me to do this. So I'm sitting here I'm baptized, not a baptized witness, but I'm sitting here telling her the rules and the rules of the Bible and the rules of the organization, as if she did not already know.